me introduce my name. I am Elsa Diponegoro, a semester of for today. And now, please let me welcome our special guest for today. Welcome the Honorable Prof. Helene from the Institute of Economic, Food and Environmental from France as Human Student. Welcome the Honorable Prof. Dr. BA as the former Dean of the Postgraduate Studies Program University and also one of the founders of the Professor of the program. Welcome the Honorable Mrs. Rachel and Wonderful. The theme for the webinar today is petroleum production and sustainable energy by Dark Fermentation. Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me first to review the note for today. The first agenda is the opening session, and second is opening speech delivered by the Professor of the Department of Chemical Engineering from the University. The next agenda is main event, and the last agenda is closing. Before we come to the main session, let us start this way praying first, so the event that we will hold on this day will happen without any obstacle at all. Pray this on the program begins. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, and now for opening speech, I am welcome the Honorable Professor Dr. BA from the Department of Chemical Engineering University to deliver his welcome and opening speech. Professor Poranto, time is yours.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, honorable guests, and also Dr. Joko Windarto, and in particular Mrs. Dr. Helene Carrere. Bienvenue, welcome to the campus on the Master Program of Energy, School of Postgraduate Studies, and also Department of Chemical Engineering, Faculty of Engineering, Universitas Diponegoro in Semarang. This webinar or seminar session this afternoon related to the visiting professor from Dr. Helene Carrere from INRAE. INRAE is a French Institute of Agronomic and Environment that is from the Laboratory of Environmental Biotechnology. The research of Dr. Helene Carrere related to the production of renewable energy such as biogas from waste, and also at the moment the research concerning the production of hydrogen by dark fermentation by using organic waste. So it is very important that the information from senior researcher, Dr. Helene Carrere is a director of research in INRAE. In Indonesia is equal with research professor, senior professor, with a lot of internal publication with the age index, Scopus 51, and also more than 100 paper in international journal. So thank you very much, Dr. Joko Windarto, for hosting this seminar this afternoon, and also Dr. Helene Carrere. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. Dr. Rubanto INRAE for the opening speech. The next opening speech from the Head of Department Magister of Energy, the Honorable Mr. Joko Widodo, MP. Mr. Joko, the time is yours.
Thank you very much, moderator. Welcome to the Honorable Prof. Helene from the Institute of Agronomy, Food and Environmental from France as keynote speaker. Welcome to Honorable Professor Dr. Korwan Tiaan. He is also as one of the founders of Master of Energy Study program in Diponegoro University. Welcome to the Honorable Master of Mrs. Lecturer, student, and moderator, Mr. Marcel. Thank you very much, Mr. Marcel, for your coming. Good afternoon. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, we would like to say that good that we are able to gather to the visiting lecturer by Master Program of Energy Postgraduate School Studies, Diponegoro University. We would like to thank from Professor Helene and also Prof. Kohanto, who has helped organize this visiting professor activity. And also, we would like to thank for the all lecturers, students who have joined the visiting professor, even the name is looking for production as sustainable and therapeutic fermentation. I think this time is very late with what is Indonesia being developed on the renewable energy, because in 2025, Indonesia had the target on the renewable energy is 23%. While the renewable Indonesia now is only achieved about 13 or 14%. So we still need more, around 8 or 9% more until 2025. Perhaps in France, maybe the renewable energy more than 25%. So for this reason, what will give by Prof. Helene can make valuable experience in developing hydrogen, because hydrogen also the new and renewable energy. Thanks all. We can say enjoy the seminar and good luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Joko, for the opening speech. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now continuing our even with keynote speaker, Honorable Dr. Helene from INRAE, French National Research Institute for Agriculture, Food and Environment. The keynote speaker will be moderated by the Honorable Mr. Marcelinus Criswar, the MC PhD. Mr. Marcelinus, time is yours.
Thank you for the MC. My name is Marcelinus Criswar from Master Program of Energy, School of Postgraduate Studies, University Diponegoro. I will lead the season as moderator. Before Dr. Helene started the presentation, I will read her CV first. Dr. Helene Carrere was born on 5th March 1666. Now is research director or senior researcher in INRAE, Environmental Biotechnology Laboratory. And her research experiences is study and development of pre-treatment to improve the performance of anaerobic digestion and Dark Fermentation, separation of biological fluid, cross-flow filtration of non-Newtonian fluids, and extraction of vapor aid by free dyes bed ion exchange chromatography. She published around 137 papers with 14 book chapters and 3 French patents. And she received some awards, for instance, list in top 1% most cited authors in 2018. Bioresearch Impactful Research Award from Bioresource Technology 2018, Collective Research and Impact INRAE Award 2017, Academic and Polluted Innovative Technique for Environmental Award 2012, Best Oral Presentation French Chemical Engineering Conference, and Best Thesis. Okay, I think this is enough to me to read the CV of Dr. Helene. And Dr. Helene, you do presentation first until finish, and then continue with the Q&A session. And for the participant, if you have any question to Dr. Helene, you can click the raise hand button when on Q&A session, or you can write your question in the chat room during her presentation, and I will read to you. Okay, Dr. Helene, screen and time is yours.
Well, thank you for this very kind introduction. Thank you. I would like also to thank Mr. Formato and INDIP University for inviting me. It's a real pleasure to be here among you to share some scientific topics. And well, I am very happy to share my screen. Okay, so today I will speak about hydrogen production. First, after a general introduction, I will give you details about Dark Fermentation. So at present, hydrogen world production is about 50 million tons per year, and its main use is for ammonia production, more than 50%. After it is used in refinery processing for natural refinery, for methanol production, and also various other utilizations such as energy carrier or in food industry. So first, hydrogen as biofuel. You can see here a station, a filling station from Japan for cars. In France, in Paris, we have some taxis working with hydrogen. The station proposes a power of 700 bars. Then a car needs more or less 5 minutes to be full in, and then it will have an autonomy of 500 kilometers. You can see here in Europe, in green, the filling station that are in operation, and in pink, the ones which are programmed. You can also use hydrogen bicycle, which has 100 kilometers autonomy. Ethane is also used. It is a blend of hydrogen and natural gas, methane. It can be biomethane or natural gas. So in this case, methane is enriched with 5 to 20% of hydrogen, and then the combustion is cleaner and has better performance. In France, in Dunkerque, we have some buses. We have performed a demonstration of hydrogen injection into the natural gas supply networks up to 20%, and this mixture has been used to fuel the bus. Well, what is biohydrogen within the whole hydrogen market? We see it as a very little place. First, you can see here the most of hydrogen is produced from fossil fuels, either gas, oil, or petroleum, thanks to gas reforming, partial oxidation, to photothermal reforming. You can also use electricity power for to produce hydrogen. It can be either from nuclear plants, or you can use renewable energy such as hydraulic, wind, solar, or geothermal. And thanks to this power, you will carry down water and also you can process by water dissociation by thermal cycles. After, you can have hydrogen from biomass, and then you can use thermochemical processes and gasification. And finally, you will produce hydrogen from biological processes. It can be thanks to fermented bacteria, microalgae, or cyanobacteria. And today we will speak about the fermentation by fermented bacteria. Also, again, you can see that the most hydrogen is produced from the natural gas, 48%, 30% from oil, 18% from coal, and 4% is renewable hydrogen. It is produced from water electrolysis. Up to now, no hydrogen is produced from biomass at the industrial scale. Yes, I hope you can see it. It's more or less the same scale, but with more details, with the different energy sources, the fossil ones, nuclear one, and renewable one. And on the second line, which is more detailed, you can see the different process which we need for hydrogen production. But most of the time, the hydrogen production is accompanied with the production also of CO, methane, or CO2. And of course, you will need some purification step before the distribution. So if we focus on the renewable sources, you will have first the hydraulic, wind, geothermal, or solar energy to produce electricity and use it as either low temperature electrolysis, thermal water splitting, biomass gasification, biomass pyrolysis. And if you use on the biomass to produce hydrogen, you can use also the thermochemical processes, the bioelectrochemistry with electroactive bacteria, photofermentation, biophotolysis by microalgae, and the dark fermentation. In this case, the hydrogen is produced together with CO2, and also we will see various building blocks. This is the in Europe the policy we want to what we wanted to get as renewable fuel in 2020. It was 80% of biofuel, 10% for biogas to mix with natural gas, 5% of energy to get an average of 23% of renewable energy. And here you can see the price of the production in euros, so it will be in euro. For the gasoline, if you let's look at the last column, where the price is reported to the energy content, the gigajoules. So for the gasoline, it's 7 euro per gigajoule, and the production of hydrogen from gas reforming is around 2030. So it was higher, even higher from coal gas gasification. From biogas gasification also between 30 and 40, and the water hydrolysis, which is the only process used at present, it is between 35 and 40 euro per gigajoule. So all the biohydrogen productions are higher than 25 euro per gigajoule. So we need to find some added value to the concept of environmental biorefining. Again, the main processes with the advantages and drawbacks. For conventional electrolysis, it's a mature technology, and also you don't have any emissions of CO2, but its main drawback is its cost. If you do electrolysis with renewable energy, you will have the same advantages, and in addition, as a drawback, the intermittency of the process. For example, you don't have any sun energy all the time. For electrolysis with nuclear electricity, the main drawback will be the nuclear waste, and the advantage, the possibility of running very large scale plants. Still, reforming of natural gas is a mature technology and much quite high low cost, but it has some CO2 emissions, the same as coal gasification and partial oxidation of oil residues. The Clamer process uses some fossil fuels, but has no CO2 emissions. And now we come to the photoelectrochemical production. We will have no CO2 emission, but it's not natural. The gasification of biomass will be neutral in CO2 because we convert again CO2 into biomass. And the drawback would be the availability and the logistic of biomass, and maybe for large scale production. And now the focus of our presentation, the biological production, it will be the cost if we consider that it is from waste, but it is not a matter, and still we need to reduce the cost of the process. In this scheme, you can see here the different biomasses that can be used for hydrogen production. So if the process will be much more easy if you use St. Hours of not only of its starch. So this is a biomass, the first generation biomass that use food products. If you look at in green, the second generation biomass includes the lignocellulosic biomass, so you can produce hydrogen from cellulose and hemicelluloses, not from lignin. And if you use microalgae, we will speak of the third generation. So all these substrates can be transformed into biohydrogen either by dark fermentation, photo fermentation, where you need some light to make work the microorganisms, and also photosynthesis using light. And together with the hydrogen production, you also have CO2 and other metabolites, VFA, solvents, that further can be converted into ethanol, methane, or microbial lipids. So I forgot to translate this slide. So the main way of biological production of hydrogen will be water biophotolysis, with productivity here in millimole hydrogen per liter and per hour, around maximum 0.35. With photofermentation using purple bacteria, you can increase the productivity up to 5 millimole per liter and per hour. And with dark fermentation, we will have intermediate productivity, which may rise up at 50, with the yields of around 2 mole of hydrogen per mole of equivalent liquids. The advantages of the dark fermentation process will be that they can operate at room temperature and under atmospheric pressure. They do not require light energy. They can lead to high yield and rate of hydrogen production. They can use a wide range of substrates, and waste also can be used as substrate. Now I will jump to the principle of the dark fermentation. It consists on the first steps of anaerobic digestion process. So here I remind you the mechanism of anaerobic digestion. You start with complex organic matter. First stage of hydrolysis will convert this complex matter into soluble monomers. It can be amino acids from proteins, sugars from polysaccharides. Then you have this fermentation step with acidogenesis and acidogenesis, where this different material will be converted into organic acid and alcohols. And during the acetogenesis, we will have the production of acetate on one hand and CO2 and hydrogen on the second hand. And all these steps are carried out of various bacteria, and several types of bacteria can do one step, but one is not common that one sort of bacteria can do all the steps. The last step, the methanogenesis, is carried out by archaea, and they produce methane, CO2 from acetate, and also methane from CO2 and hydrogen. And you can see here the hydrogen production, that is our target. So we will try to stop, to get rid of the methanogenesis. And this is the same graph, but more with more details. And also to let you know that as for classic fermentation, alcoholic fermentation for bioethanol or things like that, the main substrate for fermentation will be simple carbohydrates. So you will, the aim is to produce volatile fatty acid and CO2 and then acetate. This is done by from one molecule of glucose. We have two pathways. The one leads to the production of acetate, 2 acetate, 2 CO2, and 4 hydrogen. And the second one will lead to 1 butyrate, 2 CO2, and 2 hydrogen. But in gray, you can have some competitive pathways with the production of lactate or acetone, ethanol, and ethanol. And now, in red, you will have some pathway which can consume hydrogen. So we also see the production of lactate, and this lactate can be transformed into propionate or caprolate. And but also you can use the acetate, as we have seen before, to produce CO2 and methane, and also the hydrogen can be consumed to produce ammonia and H2S. So here are the main equations showing the consumption of hydrogen. I will not detail them, but you will find again the methanogenesis, the acetogenesis to produce again acetate from hydrogen and formamide, fumarate reduction, sulfato reduction, nitrate reduction, and argon reduction, manganese reduction. And here for again to sum up the advantage and drawbacks of hydrogen production by dark fermentation, within the advantage we have a continuous production with no need of light, and overall the valorization of complex substrates such as OH. But it should be anaerobic, so no presence of oxygen, so you need a closed reactor. However, no hydrogenases, the enzyme which favor hydrogen production, are not inhibited by the oxygen. The main problem will be the competition, the addition of other microorganisms. Aerobic competition can be required. Low surface is required. The operation may be easy with industrial expertise, and it can be carried out either in mesophilic at 35 degrees or thermophilic at 50 or 55 temperature. The drawbacks will be the relative low hydrogen yield. In the maximum stoichiometric rally, you will get 4 mole of hydrogen per mole of exhaust. We have some thermodynamic limits with the hydrogen pressure. And also, we have some complex interaction between the metabolic pathway and the microorganisms. Here, just a picture with showing some pure culture that can be used to carry out the dark fermentation. They can be Clostridium species, Enterobacter species, and Thermotograph species. And in mixed culture, we see later we have dozens, tens of microorganisms. To compare the yield and the productivities of the pure culture and the mixed culture, if you have a strict anaerobe such as Clostridium or hyperthermophiles, you can have a yield only of 2 mole hydrogen per mole of glucose or 4 mole. And the productivities are around 20 or even lower than 10 millimole per liter and per hour. The Enterobacter are facultative anaerobes. They have yields even lower, but high productivity more than 50. And in the case of mixed culture, you can either have co-culture, usually using 2 different mechanisms. So in this case, the yield is about 2.5, but you can have around 50 millimole per liter an hour in productivity. And in the mixed culture, as in the dark fermentation, the productivity can be higher, but it's quite high instability because of the competition of the various microorganisms that can interact in the reactor. I haven't precised it, but in the case of waste, generally, we don't use any sterilization step. So that was the principle. Now, how can we carry out the dark fermentation reactor at large scale? So the main, as we have seen, it is a part of anaerobic digestion process. The main objective will be to remove methanogens. So to do that, we can do some heat retreatment between 90 and 100 degrees for 10 minutes. This will remove, which will kill the methanogenic arachne, and also which will select some spore-forming hydrogen producers, such as Clostridium. You can also in the lab, but not at full scale, inhibit the methanogens that some chemicals, such as bromoethanol sulfonate, acetylene, or alcohol. You can do some pH shock with a pH lower than 4 or higher than 10, which again will kill methanogens or make stress on methanogen. And also you can provide some oxygen again to get rid of methanogens. You can also, usually the fermentation is carried out at acidic pH, about 5, because methanogens need neutral pH. And you will carry out low hydraulic retention time to wash out the methanogens. For example, in case of molasses, you can have a retention time of 5-6 hours, 10 hours for bean curd waste, 18 hours for delivery waste, or 48 hours for solid food waste. The inoculum should be added at around 10%. The fermentation works well when the substrate composition present the carbon to nitrogen ratio about 50. And also it needs a few amounts of iron ions. So you need anaerobic digestion, so you will splurge your space by nitrogen to remove oxygen. The redox should be around minus 300 millivolts. And for temperature, as we said, you can work in the thermophilic, mesophilic, but also in psychophilic process with temperature between 15 and 13 degrees. Here, It is a scheme of a reaction we can have. This is in this case we had glucose at the inlet, and you can follow. There's no hydrogen is missing, so you according the pH of the reactor, you will favor either the ethanol production at low pH, or the butyrate and acetate, which we have seen in the theoretical equation, will be favorable to hydrogen production. So it is in the intermediate pH between 5.5 and 6.5. And finally, at the highest pH, you will have mainly acetate. So different reactors that can be used for the fermentation will be CSTR, the continuous stir tank reactor, which is the most simple. It is easy to operate. Usually it gives the HO and homogeneous mixing, and the growth rate will be controlled by the hydraulic retention tank. To control what will you measure at the lab scale, first the flow rate of the gas and its composition. So if the fermentation is running well, you will find only hydrogen and CO2 in the gas phase, but in some case you can also have some methane and some nitrogen if you have bubble your reactor with nitrogen. In the liquid phase, you will find some volatile fatty acid, lactate, ethanol, and maybe also some residual sugars. All these compounds can be measured by high pressure liquid chromatography or by RMM. And if you want to look at the microorganism, you will have some fingerprint methods and sequencing. Another kind of reactor is the USB, where the microorganisms are retained in the reactor. They go in the form of granules that can easily settle down. So in this case, they select or they are selected for self-population. It is a very mature technology in anaerobic digestion for wastewater treatment. And the growth rate is independent of the HRT for the digestion. It is useful for high liquid flow rates when the waste streams are quite diluted with low concentration in CO2. You have here some picture of continuous hydrogen production from soybean curd. In this case, it was run at 60 degrees with the maximal hydrogen heat of 1.6 mole of hydrogen per mole of glucose. And in this case, it was a membrane bioreactor with hollow fiber microfiltration membrane, which allowed to improve the hydrogen rate with a range of around 1 cubic meter per day in a 100-liter system. Other reactor, this is from the publication. I hope I forget the reference, sorry. So as I told you, you will have some continuous CSTR, and what is interesting to you is the production rate on the last column. Some anaerobic batch reactor, as there, fixed bed reactor with activated carbon. In this case, we had quite a higher production rate. the anaerobic fixed reactor, which had much higher rate, up to anaerobic sludge blanket, USD, and also, well, not detail of them, but you can see that the highest rate concern the biofuel or the granules reactor, or in the, we had also, you can have an example of continuous CSTR, which has quite high reactor. But in all these cases, the feedstock was simple sugars in the molasses or sucrose with here is the reference. For yeah, you can we jump to quite more complex substrate with wastewaters, some sugars factory, organic fraction of municipal waste, and wastewater from rice granary, food waste, again, cheese waste. And you also saw the wastewater, olive meal wastewater, which is waste, and either with they are run either with continuous reactor or batch reactor, and this is the production, various production rate, and the yield, which will be from very low, less one more kilogram of substrate, or also you can see it's an express in milliliter. Well, now we will look at various feedstock and discuss the hydrogen potential from this feedstock, but just at large scale, how in anaerobic digestion we have the BMP test, biomethane potential test. Here we speak of biohydrogen potential test. And like for BMP, we take 0.5 liter bottles. We take an inoculum from an anaerobic or aerobic sludge, and we make a pretreatment at 90 degrees for 10 minutes. We will use a substrate to ratio equal to 10, substrate to inoculum ratio equal to 10, which is much higher than in the anaerobic digestion. You will use a buffer at pH 5.5, and you will flush the headspace by nitrogen, and usually we perform the experiment at 37 or 35 degrees. Here is what we will get. It is, you can see the milliliter of hydrogen per gram of volatile solids as function of time. First, you can see it's not a very long process, it's much shorter than anaerobic digestion, but also you will observe most of the time, a maximum in hydrogen production and then a decrease. That means that we have consumed, first we produce hydrogen, and after we have consumed more hydrogen than we produce. So most of the time we will try to stop the test at the maximum. For modeling, generally we use the Gompers model with the maximum. Here is the maximum production that you can see here in the graph, and with an exponential fast with R will be the rate of production, and this here T LAT will be the lag phase. That means the time we will have to wait before the starting of production. So the main, I told you before that the fermentation will need some sugars. And the most simple substrate will be the simple sugar, glucose, fructose, xylose, lactose, and so on. You can use some wastewater that are rich in sugars, such as molasses, vinasse, whey, and glycerol. Some food waste also you may use, or the municipality waste. You may use some energy crops which are rich in sugar, such as sorghum. Sorghum is working quite well, or Jerusalem artichoke. And finally, we may try to use agricultural residues and lignocellulosic biomass. I already shown you this equation showing the theoretical yield from glucose. And if you look at them, both time you start from 1 mole of glucose, and you can have either 4 mole of hydrogen in the case of acetate pathway, or 2 mole of hydrogen in the case of butyrate pathway. So if I convert that in gram, that means that you can get maximum from 4 to 8 grams of hydrogen from 1 mole of glucose, that is 180 grams. And if I translate that into, it is milliliters, not milligram, that will give a few milliliters of hydrogen per gram of glucose. No, sorry, I did something wrong. Finally, we can have a production of 250 from almost 500 milliliters of hydrogen per gram of glucose. Here are some yields on this. Sorry, the production of the last slide. You can see the yield in mole of hydrogen per mole of exhaust from various sugars, plus the fructose, plus the sugar with 5 carbon, the glucose, the most common one, the dimer of 2 sugars, and after maltose is another dimer, until the maltodextrose, which is a trimer. So you can see as getting larger sugar molecules, you can reduce the yield. These are various wastewater that have been used for hydrogen production. And what is the most interesting in this graph is the point, the black points, which represent the hydrogen yield in millimole per gram of COD. COD, carbon, carbon oxide demand, oxygen demand. So you can see various yields with the maximum of 25, let's say between 10 and even lower than 10 in the case of palm oil effluent, which may interest you in Indonesia. The yield was very low, about 2 or 3. And the numbers, yeah, they adjust the temperature when the process will operated. Yeah, if we take some more various substrates, again, the hydrogen production potential here in milliliter per gram of total solids, you can see that the first group contains substrates which are rich in sugars, such as apple, carrot, Jerusalem artichoke, tuber, wheat flour, or potato, maize flour. So, and is this substrate that will, the solid substrate that will go lead to the highest yield. After we have taken some substrates rich in proteins, such as fish residues, commanio, meat residues, and so on, And here, as expected, the yield is very, very low. Some agroindustrial waste, such as the food peel, sunflower oil cake, or rapeseed oil case, vegetable from a restaurant, they will get some average yields and as the same as the agricultural residues. There is some PCA analysis linking the hydrogen yield to the characterization of the substrates, and you have on this graph the same substrate that I just seen you, and on the graph you will see that the BHP, the hydrogen potential, is directly linked to the carbohydrate in the substrate, which is actually not the case of the proteins, but also in blue it was the characteristics of the substrate, and in brown you have the metabolites found at the end of fermentation. The best correlation was between the BHP and the butyrate. So to come back to the correlation between the substrate characteristic and the BHP, we took again the same substrate and we analyzed the soluble sugars, the lignin, the uronic acid, which are from celluloses, the crystalline cellulose, and the amorphous cellulose, which contains the non-crystallized cellulose and the hemicelluloses and the proteins. And we tried to find some multi-regression to explain the BHP of this substrate. And thanks to the PLS model, you can see here that only the soluble sugars are a significant parameter to explain the hydrogen potential. And so we can represent, we can model the hydrogen potential simply by a linear correlation with the soluble sugars. So that's nice when we have substrates rich in sugars, but in the case if you want to use more substrate, we can make and particularly the lignocellulosic biomass, which is very abundant. We can study the treatment of this biomass to improve the hydrogen production. So, as we've seen, we need some soluble sugars, and the purpose of the pretreatment will be to solubilize these sugars, and we will find them in hemicelluloses and cellulose. All the pretreatment should meet the following requirement, that is, avoid the degradation of loss of carbohydrate, and avoid the formation of byproducts which may be inhibitory to the subsequent hydrolysis fermentation process. That will be important, and also that they should have as low cost as possible. So in this case, we took some, it was sunflower stalks, and we applied various pretreatment, thermochemical pretreatment. The first control without any pretreatment, then thermal treatment at 55 degrees for 24 hours, the same pretreatment with addition of soda, with addition of hydrogen peroxide, and after addition of lime, and after we tried mainly some acid pretreatment. They are more usually applied at higher temperature, so 170 degrees, with addition of chloric acid and also FeCl3. From all this pretreatment, we we look at at the solubilization of main compounds in glucoproteins, uronic acid, cellulose, hemicellulose, and lignin. And you can, comparing to the first substrate, you can see that the main impact of the acid treatments were the solubilization of celluloses, and that was our objective. So the solubilization of sugar. So we went further with this acid treatment. You can also, another way to solubilize the sugar is the combined process of alkaline and enzymatic treatment. So again, you can see that we succeed in solubilizing the cellulose with the yield of solubilization of 27% only with enzyme and up to 48% by combining alkaline and enzymatic hydrolysis. So, to make a kind of reminder for the pretreatments, if you use alkaline and oxidative pretreatment, you will mainly remove lignin. With acid, you will solubilize in cellulose, and enzymatic and alkaline enzymatic, you will solubilize hemicellulose and celluloses. So, I will now show you the results of this both pretreatment on the hydrogen potential. But before, let me show you some literature review about the pretreatments for hydrogen production. First, the acid pretreatments, and with various conditions and substrates, and what I want to show you, for example, in the first line, the hydrogen yield could be increased from 70 up to 1,400%. So that means that it has been multiplied. View in the literature, you can also find some alkali pretreatments with results can also be very high in the case of line pretreatment on console. But also you can get negative, you can decrease your hydrogen yield after some pretreatments. It was the case on the Bitcoin, which was pretreated with microwave. And finally, you can also find very few examples of oxidation in the literature. Another interesting strategy is the enzymatic pretreatment, but most of the time you will have to combine enzyme with chemical pretreatment to make the cellulose and hemicellulose accessible. Or also, you can see in the last line that some papers investigated the use of some bacterium as the pretreatment. So, just to show you a study on the use of enzymatic pretreatments carried out in the lab, the fermentation of Westrom. So, and you can see the hydrogen yield quite low of 9 milliliters of hydrogen per gram of organic matter of straw. We tried to pretreat the straw thanks to some enzyme, but we observed that if we need to sterilize the straw for the use on enzyme, but because if the straw is not sterilized, some endogenous microorganisms will directly consume the sugars which are released. So, thanks to two-step sterilization and enzymatic hydrolysis, we could double the hydrogen yield. It's not very much, but it's better. And also we get the same results by adding directly the enzyme into the fermentation work. So, and in this case, we didn't have to sterilize the substrate, and that was that's better in the case of the waste management process. You can see here the hydrogen production that was obtained with the addition of various amount of enzyme in the fermenter. So in black, you have the control with no hydrogen addition. And after, if you report here the last point on the second graph, you first have a quite high increase up to 5 milligrams of protein per gram of waste straw, and after the increase is quite slow if we increase up to 10 milligrams of protein per gram of straw. In this case of sunflower stock, we also applied a combination of alkaline and enzymatic treatment. So the raw substrate at a very, very low hydrogen yield. After soda treatment, it was not much better, but the enzyme allowed to increase 13-fold the hydrogen yield, and the best results were obtained with a combination of soda and enzymatic treatment, where the yield was multiplied by 21. And if you remember, I showed you the correlation between the BHP and the soluble sugar. So if I apply this correlation in this case, the red points are always on the line. So the pretreatment and the additional hydrogen production was linked to the solubilization of sugars. Another question was, we've seen that we solubilize cellulose and hemicelluloses. So the cellulose will give mainly glucose and hemicellulose xylose. And we wonder, does the glucose and xylose are consumed at the same time or sequentially? And you can see here that the bacteria first consume the glucose, and then glucose is over, they will take the xylose. No? They prefer the glucose. And then look that we make some microbial analysis at the end of the glucose consumption and at the end of fermentation, and you see that we have the same Clostridium species in both cases. So it is the same bacteria which consume both sugars, and it is the dioxide effect, where first the glucose is first consumed and after xylose. Now let's go to acid pretreatment. As I told you, it was efficient to solubilize the sugars, and in this experiment we carried out chloridic acid pretreatment with a concentration from 0 to 4% at temperature ranging from 142 to almost 200 degrees. And in all cases, at the end, we had no hydrogen production, 0. Whereas thanks to our model or based on the solubilized sugar, we should have produced about 60 milliliters of hydrogen per gram of volatile solids. So we measure the composition, we analyze the composition of the liquid hydrolysine, and we found quite some furfuran, 5-hydroxyfurfuran, which are from the degradation of sugar, and also total phenols, which are from the degradation of lignin. And to see, actually, it was this component which were inhibitors. We take an hydrogen potential with glucose as substrate, and we added some increasing amount of this hydrolysate. And you can see here the hydrogen potential of glucose itself, but secondly with a very low amount of hydrolysate, 4%, and as up as 75% of hydrolysate in the glucose, we had no more hydrogen production. And at this concentration, and this is the concentration of inhibitors where we started to have almost zero hydrogen production. So we tried to take some samples for microbial analysis during these experiments, and you will see that the first analysis from the metabolites from the glucose itself, we had mainly acetate and butyrate, which is, if you remember, which is good for hydrogen production. It was the same for the sweat cloud. Yeah, when we had almost no hydrogen production, we had a very low amount of acetate and butyrate, but we produced some lactate and ethanol. And after, when we had really no hydrogen production, we had mainly lactate and ethanol production. So what's happened? We observed a metabolite chart from acetate to acetate and butyrate to lactate and ethanol, and to see which microorganisms are associated with this metabolic pathway. You can see here that in the case of in the first two cases with hydrogen production, we had mainly the Clostridial species, which are known to produce hydrogen. In the intermediate case, the amount of the species were significantly reduced, but they were still present at the when we had no more hydrogen production. Present, but not in majority. So we observed some development of hydrogen consumer or competitor, but also some stressful conditions for Clostridia species which were still present. So the question is now, what are the impact of these metabolites on the anaerobic digestion for methane production and hydrogen production? To answer the question, we made some methane potential and hydrogen potential with 1 gram or 5 gram per liter of xylose as a control. And here we have a classical value of 300 milliliter of methane per gram of xylose and 274 milliliter of methane per gram of xylose with 3 deltas. So, when we added the byproducts, the inhibitory byproducts to the methane fermentation, we increase the methane production. That means that some methane was produced from the byproduct themselves. In the case of hydrogen, we had a very significant reduction of the hydrogen yield and an increase of the lag phase. And now, if we try to convert this compound directly by themselves, thus as sole carbon source, the methane potential they lead to the methane production, even as a small ferment, as small carbon sources, but we cannot produce hydrogen. The hydrogen potential is actually zero. This has been confirmed in the literature with the, I reported the concentration for total inhibition of these compounds with other carbon sources, and for 5-hydroxymethyl which was found at around 10 grams per liter, and 3 grams per liter of phenol for methane production. And this inhibitory concentration are much lower for the hydrogen production. So what could have been happened? Because if we take back the anaerobic fermentation and anaerobic digestion mechanism, we can see that the last stage of methane production is not inhibited, whereas the last one is inhibited. So during methane production, this pathway favoring acetate production was favored. And if I compare both processes for methane and hydrogen production, you can see the substrate equilibrium ratio that is much higher for hydrogen production. So in the same way, the inequilibrium concentration is lower in the case of hydrogen production. And if you add the same amount of byproduct in both bottles, you will have a byproduct to inequilibrium ratio, which will be much higher in the case of hydrogen production. In addition, in the case of hydrogen, the inoculum is simplified. We treated it to remove various material. And also the duration of the process is much lower in the case of hydrogen, with 3 days against weeks or months for anaerobic digestion. So, as a summary, the byproducts produced during thermal acid pretreatment do not lead to the inhibition of methane, except at high concentration, but they lead to the inhibition of hydrogen. They lead to a metabolite shift towards lactate and ethanol, an increase of lactase. Maybe this can be overcome by inoculum adaptation. And also, there are lower inhibiting concentration of cocktail and pure compounds, which may hypothesize some synergy of the presence of other inhibitors. I will have a few examples of the combination of dark fermentation with other processes, because remember, hydrogen, the part of hydrogen production is a very good part of COD, so you must valorize the exit of the method of fermentation. So the most simple way to valorize this VFA, it will be the production of methane. In this case, we will have bioethane. And as an example, I have reported the pilot plant produce bioethane with a 30-liter reactor for hydrogen and 4 here on the top of the reactor, and 400 liters for the anaerobic digestion reactor. You can also produce more further hydrogen from the outlet of the dark fermentation. This can be proper to photofermentation of microbial electrochemical cells, or also you can produce microalgae to convert them in lipids. Again, the lab we have in Narbonne. This is an example for Glasgow University in Wales, where Also, they convert some these pellets into hydrogen and then anaerobic digester. Another picture of the university with hydrogen fermentation and some filling station. Very first stage, this pilot is in the University of Venice in Italy, and it is used for municipal solid waste. So they have a 200 liter CSTR for hydrogen, and for methane, it's almost 400 liters. From this reactor, they have successfully produce biomethane from biowaste. You can have a continuous production here of the hydrogen, about 10%, and methane about 60%, and remaining CO2. And as mass balance, from 3 kilograms per day of CO2, they are leading to the COD is 500 kilograms of COD, which is converted in hydrogen, and almost 2,300 kilograms of COD into methane. Here are other examples of energy yields in 2 stages in hydrogen and methane of other substrates, such as potato, grass silage, seed sorghum of maize. So in some cases, you can get more than 80 megajoules per kilogram of DS. This is the biggest hydrogen pilot plant I know of 800 liters, which is in India. And that was my last slide. I would like to thank my colleague Eric Trabi, which we are working on this topic together as well. In the lab, each one has its own topic. Mine is project man, and this is hydrogen production by fermentation. Well, thank you all for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Helene Carrere, for us an interesting presentation and really inspired us. In this session, we have 4 questions from the chat room. Wait for a while. For the first question from Mr. Anand Setio, is the pre-treatment temperature of 70 until 90 degrees Celsius maintained during the hydrogen production process? And the second question, is it possible to modify the sugar factory manufacturing system to a dark fermentation system?
Okay, thank you for this question. No, the 70 degree is not maintained during the fermentation. It's just a picture that we apply to inoculum to remove some bacteria. Maybe the fermentation in case of extreme thermophile, a bacteria can be carried out at 70 degrees, but at 90 degrees during no longer fermentation. So the pre-treatment of the inoculum is only before or 10 minutes before the fermentation. And the second question is possible to modify sugar factory to a dark fermentation system. I'm afraid not to know where the sugar factory is. So maybe what I can imagine without knowing it is you may make some dark fermentation using wastewater. I think that would be a good option.
Okay, thank you. And the second question from Mr. Gatot Sukayudi. For dark fermentation, what yeast is suitable if I will try to use the raw sagu stem waste as substrate? If he used the raw sagu stem as substrate, the dark fermentation using yeast is suitable or not?
I don't know any yeast which are carried out the dark fermentation, it's rather bacteria. The yeast will be for ethanol fermentation. So, I don't know the substrate, the sago, but if you have that, some sugar, usually Clostridium or Carnotoga, then generally if you have some mixed culture with Clostridium will be good. And also Carnotoga, which is a thermophilic bacteria, can be also process dark fermentation.
Okay, this
Thank you.
answer for Mr. Gatot Sukayudi. Do you have any more questions, Mr. Gatot?
I think that's enough. So I mean, that mean we can use around surrounding bacteria or maybe algae. We can use to for this fermentation purpose. I think that's all. I think. Thank you.
Yeah, you are speaking of indigenous bacteria which are already present on the substrate, and maybe that would be the best one because they are already adapted to the substrate. Recently, we made some experiments of fermentation without any inoculation, and it was working as well as with inoculation.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
And the third question from Dr. Indra Sumantri. Is there any problem when you sucrose rather than glucose as the substrate?
No, it's very easily hydrolysis into monomer, so you can use sucrose, yes.
Okay, thank you. Any additional question from Dr. Indra or enough? Okay, we go to other question from Dr. Jaka Windarto. Can we compare the price between the fossil fuel price with the hydrogen fuel in Europe country? For example, 1 liter petroleum price compared with hydrogen fuel price. Is hydrogen fuel still lower than fossil fuel price?
Yes, I had some slides at the beginning. Yes. Okay, so you can see at the reported not per liter, because we cannot compare 1 liter of hydrogen or 1 mole of hydrogen and 1 mole of gasoline. But if you report it to the energy, the last column, the gasoline is much less expensive than the hydrogen, whatever the hydrogen production process.
Okay, thank you. Any addition? Question from Dr. Jaka or Ina?
So we can kilocalorie price is still higher.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
It was lower, and I think we would have more hydrogen.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any question from our participant? Okay, if not, I will ask some question. So far, how much efficiency can dark fermentation achieve in producing biohydrogen, and how to increase the efficiency?
Well, as I'll show you, if you look at the stoichiometry, the yield will never be high. It will be only maximum 4 mole per gram of glucose. So to increase efficiency, you can convert the metabolites at the outlet of fermentation to further hydrogen. It can be done by other processes such as photofermentation. And also at present, the main bottleneck is the low stability of the process because of the competition with other microorganisms, and because we do not work in sterile condition.
Okay, thank you. And the next question, still from me. One of the factors affect the biohydrogen production is CN ratio of the substrate. In what range is the CN ratio in the substrate for the fermentation process can be achieved for optimal product?
Yes, we have an optimal range. I don't remember it. I showed it, but you can there's a range around this ratio. So it's you don't need excess nitrogen, but most of the time proteins are not converted. So what is problematic is the ammonia concentration. This is this one which remain low, but enough to make the growth of bacteria possible.
Okay, thank you. And the last question from me. What are the challenges in the upscaling biohydrogen production using dark fermentation process?
Yeah, the main is the stability of the process, because we have to control the microorganism, not to get, if your retention time or if some microorganisms are blocked in the reactor, the archae, the methanogens can be reproduced, can go, and you will end at having some methane instead of hydrogen. So it's the challenge is to limit the consumption of hydrogen and not to have also a competitive pathway. And it's quite challenging.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any question from participant? I think. Okay, any question? Okay, if not, just the visiting lecture with Dr. Helene Carrere. Oh, Faizul.
Hello,
Okay.
good afternoon, Mrs. Helen. Pa Marcel,
Good afternoon.
can I ask some question to Miss Helen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Miss Helen, for your lecture. Welcome to Indonesia. My name is Faizur Al-Muhajir. Presently, I'm in Bahrain. I'm also conducting this Magister Energi from University of Diponegoro. My question is about this hydrogen production. If you compare to the natural gas, what the Europe using now, it is before it was using, it's coming from majority is coming from Russia, but due to the war, it's difficult. There is difficulty to get the gas, natural gas from Russia. In your perspective, which is what you call this one cheaper? If it is coming from you taken from Russia as natural gas, or you make a production from H2, what you mean is hydrogen, from what you are lecturing now. Which one is cheaper based on your assumption with the present condition? Did you get my question?
I'm sorry, I will not have the day-to-day prices to make this comparison. But yeah, anyway, the problem is to now is that there's no reactors for hydrogen production. The question may be more relevant for biogas, producing biogas from anaerobic digestion. And that maybe it may be good for anaerobic digestion if the Russian gas is still very high.
Okay, Mr. Faisal, it is now.
Yeah, well, because what is my point now related about this? If the production of hydrogen, it's all of related about energy. So what I'm thinking now, energy's consumption is very what you call one this basic primary what they need, especially for example in Europe during the winter season, they need a lot of energy for the coming winter. But if in Indonesia, you can say we don't have any situation like winter. So far about the using gas consumption, we just we are importing a lot of liquid petroleum gas. But what the lecturer said, it is also interesting related to hydrogen, what we can use for the electric vehicle in the future. So this is my concerning now about the sustainable. If we are talking about sustainable, meaning we are still engaging, we are still need is coming from natural gas, even though we still are looking from the what you call this one is biotechnology, whatever they said. But so far, another concern is the Europe countries is still engaging this so many natural gas. The next question for Mrs. Helen, it is based on the reality now. It is we can achieve the sustainable with the biohydrogen, or still, or how many years we will we need the natural gas. After that, we are moving from what you call this one green technology. Based on your perception, it will be still how many years we need. So we get you can say the sustainable energy from the, you can say the green energy?
Well, it's a quite difficult question. When I cannot tell you, I would say as soon as possible, but in Europe now there's a quite big project in research to farm hydrogen. But most of research are focused on hydrogen produced from water electrolysis, because it more or less can be mature more rapidly. And the other part of question is, can we get rid of natural gas thanks to hydrogen production? I think maybe, I don't know if we will see it ourselves, but one day we will have to not to use any more fossil fuels. So first we need to reduce our energy consumption, and also to find our ways to replace the natural gas and petroleum energy. But I'm sorry, I cannot give you more details on this question.
Yeah, okay, thank you, Dr. Helene. Maybe Dr. Helene more focusing on the fermentation, not focusing on the policy and or regulation about the utilization of natural gas, of utilization of biogas, but more focusing on the fermentation process and how to convert the biomass become the biohydrogen. Thank you.
That's right. Thank you.
Okay, and next question from Mr. Supriyanto Suma. Hydrogen is flammable gas. How to anticipate or treat the gas become safe for our life, especially for storage? I think hydrogen storage.
Anyway, what should I say is that in the lab we started this research about 20 years ago, but we have put some special extraction on the top of the room. We have a very powerful extraction because we use hydrogen, and all our hydrogen reactor is in this room. But about the security, I have seen a video of the hydrogen car burning after a leak in the fuel capacity, and when it burns, the gas can go up, so there's a flame above the car. In the contrary, when gasoline car burns, it explodes. So I don't speak of storage here, but for the car, it may be more safe an hydrogen car than a gasoline car. And after, it's the question, it is inflammable and explosive only in the range of concentration with oxygen. So we should maybe, if it's possible, keep out of this ratio in the environment of the storage. But definitively, it's a question that will have to be addressed.
Okay, thank you. Any question? Okay, if no, I'll finish this session. This is the visiting lecture with Dr. Helene Carrere. Thank you, Doctor. And I apologize if there are mistakes from me. And I I return back it to MC. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for Dr. Helene Carrere as the keynote speaker and Mr. Marcelinos as the moderator. For the keynote speaker and moderator, we would like to ask you to stay on because we would like to present the certificate to you for sharing your expertise in session. And to present the certificate, we invite Mr. Jaka.
Oh, pakai yeah. 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes.
Terima kasih, Pak Master. Yang sama.
Okay, once more, thank you so much for Dr. Helene and Mr. Marcelinos. And ladies and gentlemen, before we close this event, let's take some picture together. The audience is to turn on the camera.
Bisa dinyalakan kameranya. Baik. Bisa diambil.
Okay, let me count down in 3, 2, 1. Maybe once more, again, once more. 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you so much for the audience. Next slide. Next slide. Oh, next slide. Oh, okay. Okay, next slide. Okay. In 3, 2, 1. Okay, maybe once more. Okay, in 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you so much. Now we will close the conference. Let us celebrate by all the things we have learned and heard throughout the conference and be able to see and influence our future. As the master of ceremony, thanks to the Honorable Professor Dr. Puranto, the Honorable Mr. Jaka MC, and the Honorable Dr. Helene as the keynote speaker, and the Honorable Mr. Marcelinos as moderator. And thank you so much for the audience webinar today. May what we had handled will be useful for us. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been my pleasure to host this event. If I'm guiding this event, I made mistakes or offend someone here. Please forgive me. And last I say, thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Okay. Tiduran. Oh, actually, Mbak. Ayo, ada. Ya. Kira-kira kalau ada di sini dan di sini. Tak pikir dulu kok.